Right now, we are talking about the Mariners. They made a trade last night, just like your classic late Sunday night baseball trade. Obviously, this comes from the winter meetings. But the Mariners sent Marco Gonzalez, Jared Kelenic, Evan White, and cash considerations, the AP since reporting that's $4.5 million, to the Atlanta Braves in exchange for two right-handers, Jackson Kowar, who was a high draft pick by the Royals, who just didn't really meet expectations, and then Cole Phillips, who was a high draft pick by the Braves, but who has had Tommy John and hasn't yet pitched at the professional level. This is from the Seattle Times bump. Jerry Dipoto, who's at the winter meetings with a couple of these reporters, went into the Mariners suite and then was answering questions about it. And he said that we intend to go out and put to immediate use this payroll flexibility to make our team better. He added that our payroll is very likely to be higher than it was a year ago, but we needed to create flexibility if we wanted to do things that could make us meaningfully better.
This is what I hear.
Okay.
But you know what? I ain't been married to Dipoto for 15 years. Our communication skills aren't up to par. You know, it took me about 12, 13 years to get even semi up to par. But what I hear is, hey, we're clearing things out because really soon, not January, not in February, really soon, we're going to go out and we're going to get some bats, some meaningful bats, some bats that are going to make us better than what we were last year. That's what I'm hearing. But just like I have to do with my wife sometimes, I got to read between the lines. Like, what does she really mean? You know, I'll ask my wife, you want me to help you with that? She goes, no. But now she's slamming doors and stuff. And I'm like, I'm supposed to go help. My bad. Let me go help you. All right. That's kind of what you got to do with Dipoto. Goes, all right, what's a meaningful move for Dipoto? We've seen what he's done over the past few years. Now, they've shown that they'll go get a guy, Castillo, Robbie Ray, and that's kind of what they've been leaning on the last couple seasons, right? But then they've also shown that they will go and get guys who are projected to do some things, the Colton Wongs and whatnot. So this is what I think is going to happen. I think that they're going to make a couple of moves that's significant to them, that make sense to them and their data and all the scouts who are out there, and disappoint us a little bit. Now, I would love to be pleasantly surprised, and I'm still holding out hope that I will be pleasantly surprised. But there's nothing that's happened over the last 3 seasons that tells me that this is the time. But everything they're doing says that this is what should happen. That's what confuses me, right? You're looking at the action, you're saying, okay, now what's the reaction? This is what the reaction should be. You go and get yourself a Juan Soto or somebody. I'm just not sure that's going to happen.
That's exactly how I feel about it. It's less about the players themselves or the trade itself and more about optics and risk and confusion, right? Like, again, no disrespect to these players. This is not on a personal level. It's on a performance level. Am I devastated that Marco Gonzalez is not going to be a Seattle Mariner? No, I mean, we assumed Marco would get traded last offseason before the season started. Then he wasn't part of the playoff roster. Then you're wondering how he's going to fit in with some now that you have Wu and Miller. Like, Jared Kelenic might never work out. And we've heard rumors of him potentially having been trying to be traded before this season. Evan White, we've kind of given up on. Gino, I loved having here, a hugely important part of culture. Both him and Teo, they struck out. They didn't have the seasons this year that you were hoping they would have. So, like, the group of the players themselves, I'm like, okay, I don't think that you need all of these guys to be a World Series contender in 2024. However, now what? Because Teo and Gino still brought you a good chunk of your offense.
Yep.
Because Kelenic still had a ton of upside and could play left field, someone you don't have. Marco was still a starter, and you're not going to have Robbie Ray until after the All-Star break. So there's just some risks that we're taking here that I don't quite understand. And I don't have enough faith in this organization, as any fan would say, that they're going to be adding hugely impactful bats and drastically exceed payroll from last year.
Yeah. There are some holes that they have to fill. Obvious holes, right? And even though there's 6 or 7 guys that feels like standing at second base, I still feel like there's a hole you need to fill. You trade away not only a guy who was liable to go yard and save a game for you, and defensively was on point. Gino was also great in the clubhouse. he was one of the guys who were a staple in this organization the last 2 years, right? So you got to replace leadership too. And then Kelnick, we all see the potential in that dude. I think maybe another year he might have been okay, but they saw him as trade leverage, and I think that if you're going to get rid of him, probably now is the right time because there's still value. He showed enough last year that, look, when I'm healthy and when I'm locked in, I can play some good ball. Now, mentally, once I start going elsewhere, I go into a dark place. So what are they going to do to fill those holes, right? And are they going to do it in a way that elevates this team? Not just keeps them at a 90-win team.
Lateral
Forget
move.
that. You want to elevate this team. And I'm looking at Curtis. I'm looking at third base. I'm looking at left field. I'm looking at second base. Like, are there names out there do you think these guys should be looking at?
I mean, Cody Bellinger and like Matt Chapman are the big names, outfielder, third baseman, but I feel like those price tags are not going to be anywhere close to what the Mariners want to pay somebody. We've seen Isaac Paredes' name put out there by a couple of people as a potential trade target. I know John Morosi has mentioned like Randy Arozarena, a couple other names from the Rays like Yandy Diaz too, but I just don't see any of those right now as like realistic options. I would love to be proven wrong, but it just seems like all the guys that they have shied away from paying over the last couple of years, it's like, why now would you go all in when you had opportunities to go after better players last year?
In a better free agency class.
Yeah.
And important to note, those two players that you just mentioned from the Rays, Ken Rosenthal in The Athletic wrote about that, like those rumors in an article this morning, and was like, the Mariners have reportedly had talks with the Rays about acquiring maybe those two players, but have also indicated like trade talks didn't go further because they may not have the money to do it. So there are rumors that they're out on Ohtani or were never in the bidding. There are rumors that they probably wouldn't be comfortable with trading for 1 year of club control with Juan Soto. There are rumors that they were interested in those two Rays bats and then kind of walked it back because they didn't have the money. So who's left? That's what I'm stuck on. I know that's a similar question to what you asked Curtis, but like what I'm stuck on is it feels like this kind of moving one thing to fill the space. It does feel like that lateral move. That's exactly what it feels like.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like you're going to enhance this team. Now, they just might, Stacey. They just might. I'm going to hold out some hope. It's like watching my son. I'm saying, hey, you got to clean this living room. And there's a piece of paper right there. I go, oh, he's got to pick up that piece of paper. And he walks right over it like it doesn't exist. I don't want them to act like they're good in these situations by just adding a average type of player. Your goal this offseason is to take this team to the next level. We've been at this level for 2 years now, all right? It's time to move on.